Crave Peace Not Cookies, written by Claudia Talboom, narrated by Mandy Grierson. Copyright and disclaimer. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission from the author or publisher. Legal disclaimer. This book is intended for personal use only. You may not alter, distribute, sell, quote, or paraphrase any portion of this work without the express written consent of the author or publisher. All efforts have been made to ensure the accuracy and completeness of the information provided. However, the author and publisher make no guarantees or warranties, express or implied, and assume no responsibility for errors, omissions, or any outcomes related to the use of this material. The contents of this book are for educational and entertainment purposes only and do not constitute legal, financial, medical, or other professional advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before applying any techniques or information from this book. By reading this material, the reader agrees that the author and publisher are not liable for any damages, losses, or consequences resulting from the use or misuse of the information contained herein. Note from the author. If you're reading this, you've likely experienced that classic, "I'm not hungry, but I'm eating anyway" mystery. My guess is you've had a moment, or many, where food felt like more than food. A coping mechanism, a reward, a distraction, a soft place to land when life got a little too sharp around the edges. Yeah, me too. I've been tangled up in emotional eating since my teenage years, back when I'd stare at magazine covers and assume beauty meant having a thigh gap, surviving on low-fat yogurt, and holding in my stomach like it was a full-time job. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a sustainable career path. Neither were the endless smoothies, the crash diets, or trying to shrink myself into someone else's impossible ideal. All it really got me was a head full of shame and a secret stash of cookies I'd binge on with a generous side of guilt. I grew up with well-meaning parents who were doing their absolute best, but emotional connection wasn't exactly on the daily menu. Love was there, I never doubted that, but it showed up as pressure to succeed rather than in open conversations or those emotional safety nets we all secretly crave. Teachers piled on expectations like bricks week after week, and there was this constant pressure to be the smart girl who had it all together. I wasn't failing, but I was definitely fighting to keep my head above water. Every wrong answer felt like a personal character flaw. Every red pen mark reminded me I wasn't quite good enough, especially in math, the one subject my dad had somehow decided would define my entire worth. By the time Friday afternoon rolled around, I was already running on fumes. My teenage self would crash the second I walked through our front door. I'd head straight for the kitchen and make myself a mountain of homemade fries, the kind that were perfectly crisp on the outside, but always a little too soft in the middle, then retreat to my room, plate in hand like edible armor. There, in front of my chunky monitor and that humming Windows 98, yes, I'm dating myself here, I'd lose myself in The Sims. My own little virtual world where I had complete control, unlike real life, where I was being shoved down a path of equations and expectations I never asked for. Greasy fingers clicked the mouse, leaving that telltale slick shine on the buttons. Build a house, eat a fry. Create a perfect life, numb your own. Though my stress-eating habit began in those turbulent teenage years, the first seed was planted much earlier, in childhood, as I watched my grandmother take slow, sorrowful spoonfuls of jam straight from the jar. Not out of joy, but as if each sweet bite might somehow soothe a heart too heavy to speak its truth. She had diabetes, though at 5 years old I couldn't grasp what that really meant. What I could sense without words, just that quiet knowing children possess, was that something inside her hurt, something deep and unnamed, like a bruise on her soul. She was always in motion, sweeping, folding, stirring, rushing from task to task like the world might crumble if she ever dared.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?